Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Agora Call, in which we take the time to speak to small cap executives after they put out important news. With us today, happy to have him back, Bernard Tourillon, CEO of HPQ Silicon, trades in Canada, HPQ for friends in the US, HPQFF. If you've been following and believe in the renewable energy revolution and the paradigm shift towards electric vehicles that are going to require more resources and better processes over the entire battery metal supply chain, including the production of silicon, which hasn't been changed in 100 years. It's expensive, it's dirty, and it's got all sorts of other negative connotations. Then you're going to love this interview with HPQ Silicon because they're a cutting-edge Canadian producer of high value-added silicon products that are sought after by both the battery metal and electric vehicle manufacturers, among other industries. And they're accomplishing this through a process that essentially permits the one-step transformation of quartz into high purity silicon and special silicon products at significantly reduced costs, energy usage, and carbon footprint. More just lip service, because there are a lot of people trying to play the promotion game here by just talking the talk. HPQ over the last few years has signed at least 7 NDAs with EV manufacturers, battery makers, and other high value materials companies. And their recurring theme between all these NDAs, HPQ's one-step manufacturer of high purity silicon. Today's big press release that we're talking about, they've announced early stage planning for a silicon-based battery material production line in North America. Bernard, welcome back, my friend.
Thanks, George. But let's at least be realistic. It's not today's press release. It was Tuesday's press release.
Well, I said today's press release that we're talking about.
Yeah, I know, but I just want to get, and for those people that are wondering why we're doing the interview now and not then, it's because I did that press release just to set up, because I was in New York doing the investor meeting. That went very, very well. We're very fascinating, very interesting. It was my first post-COVID roadshow.
Nice.
A very positive return. Didn't kick out. The idea why I decided to go to New York first, and if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. That's really the feeling I got out of it. And two, the New Yorkers can be blunt. If they don't like what you're doing, they'll tell you right smack in your face. So I didn't get that. So that was nice.
So very positive, good feedback. Because look, there's two kinds of feedbacks you get. One is, hey, good stuff, keep me in touch, which means I'm not interested, don't call me. And the other one, which is, we really like this, let's have further discussions. How much of the latter did you get?
That's Toronto politeness. In New York, that's not the way it works. They tell you in your face. No, it was much of the latter. It was really, people were really interested in what we're doing and what it was from what do you call it? Family offices to brokers to institutional investment bankers. So it was a good mix and match, and I really wanted to see where the story fell, because I hadn't come out and really started to market it until now. Because I feel now's the time. I
guess these plans played a big role. So let's talk about
that,
because obviously this played a big role. And you've got a new deck on the website. So everyone should go check that out. Okay, plans to build a silicon-based battery material production line in North America. Okay, first question, where the hell did this come from? Because none of us saw this coming. And you're talking about plans for a facility, 200 tons per year of micron-sized silicon and oxide powders by 2024 for battery application. That's next year. We're going to get details, but where did this come from? All kidding aside, what was the impetus for this? Because something's obviously changed.
Well, something has changed. In the middle of last year, we onboarded Novation. And one of the tasks that the three guys at Novation had was to do an overall of the situation. They were there to help us with the silicon purification process, which these guys have a lot of expertise into it. And they started because although they were not expert in battery material, they're expert in doing R&D and thinking about it. And their philosophy, actually, which is Novation's philosophy, is the first thing you do is you realize what's the state of the technology right now, what's done now, and then how can you improve it, as opposed to say, what's the ultimate best thing we can do? So those are very two different philosophical approach. And they've done a lot of work trying to figure out what's done out there, what's being done out there for silicon, what's going to be done out there for silicon. And they came out to a lot of interesting conclusions that we exchanged and we had long discussion about. And fundamentally, it comes up to this: the silicon for battery industry and the battery industry is very similar to the solar industry. And in the solar industry, which these guys have worked on it almost solely long part of their career, there was always this discussion that the original silicon-based solar technology, okay, the first generation of purifying monocrystalline and multicrystalline, those type of issues, would be replaced by a second generation, more advanced material, okay? Well, look, 40 years later, it is still the same basic technology been continuously improved. So they said, based on that expertise, they actually believe, and I am inclined to completely accept that view, that the graphite-based battery technology that we have now, anode, will basically continue for a long time. And it is through being able to improve that material that we can move forward. And there's a great opportunity for silicon right now to come into it. So when you look into this, and also, you know, eventually we will have our QRR to become a commercial entity. I thought it just didn't make any sense for me to wait until I had the commercial entity to try to figure out how we can commercially do it. So one of the first thing we did was, okay, can we start producing material now? And he says, yeah. And the smallest size grinding equipment that exists out there, either in Asia or in Europe, okay, is 200 metric ton. So the smallest machine we could get to do anything is 200 metric tons. So we said, okay, we'll base ourselves on 200 metric ton. And then we'll have to deal with every one of the steps and moving forward. So it was a realization that there's an incredible opportunity, okay? We've already done a lot of research on what's presently offered out there. And my guys think that there's a lot of room for improvement that we can do. You know, as I discussed in the press release, Novation already owns some patent over encapsulating of material technologies. So, you know, there's a lot of expertise that we have around team around all that material, and making the first materials relatively easy. And what's going to differentiate us from everybody else in the industry doing this, okay, is that we're never really going to have an issue. Basically, we're not really going to have any issue finding our own feedstock, because eventually it'll be ours. So the overall idea, and I think I've discussed this about the QRR, was that once, you know, we had this discussion, and Peter and Pyrogenesis also press release issue into it. Once we finish the testing program, end of June, okay, then we enter where we build the feasibility study part. Well, one of the big questions in the feasibility study is, what price will you going to get for your material? Well, since we're already doing the battery side of the business, which is going to be a potential big market for us, we will sort of become our own offtake agreement, and where we will have, and then the battery division will have its own sales done. So we have this time between now, or 2024, and we have the commercial plan to take advantage of this market opportunity to gain market share. And so that's why we realized that now was the time. You know, we can't wait for the QRR to have figured out all those issues, because we know we'll get there. So now's the time. There's an opportunity. We just jumped on it.
So I'm sure all the shareholders are happy to hear that. I know I'm happy to hear that. But if you're going to create supply, you got to make sure you've got demand waiting on the other side. So where does your confidence level come from? Does it come from some of the NDAs that I talked about in the intro? Have you had any response from them? Or do you have other companies targeted? Because if you can, I did some quick math at $30 a kilogram, that's $6 million potentially in revenue. The 2024 is around the corner. So how are you gonna sell $6 million worth of product and to whom?
Okay, that's where we continue to do our studies of the industry, which is, first of all, as I say, we did a review where the technology is right now, where is what is commercially feasible, commercially done right now. We're not talking about reinventing the wheel here. We're just saying what is commercially done right now. Then you combine into this the IRA in the US, which is the Inflation Reduction Act, which specifically state that the material to be put in batteries cannot really come from China to be entitled to this. So that creates a massive opportunity because 80 to 90% of the micron-sized silicon powders used presently in batteries is manufactured in China. So what we have to do is benchmark ourselves to what they do something better, do it in North America. And then you sit down and you realize that at this specific moment, okay, graphite is in a deficit, aka demand outstrips supply. The deficit is going to go to about 8 million ton in 2040. 8 million ton per year of deficit. Okay.
Yeah, but that's also like 20 years away, right?
But it's already, no, but George, it's now in deficit. For the next 40 years, nobody sees us getting away. So if the EV vehicle market is going to continue to grow and expand, there is massive demand for battery material.
So bottom line, you're not going to be worried about where you're going to place your 200 tons per year.
200 tons. The key point that we realize is the literature is very, very clear right now. Where the state of the art is right now is you put between 5 to 10% of Si or SiOX into it. Okay. Well, you replace 5 to 10% of SiOX, graphite by that material, you resolve a bit the issue. But in a situation where the deficit is going to be 200, 300, 400,000 metric tons a year, my puny little 200 is not going to, it's not going to move the needle. But that's the goal for me.
Got it.
The goal for me is to start to have all the battery manufacturers test my material, realize I have the best material. And then by the time we're ready to build and finance the first commercial generation, I will not only have outtake, I will probably have people says, okay, we want one with our gigafactory. We want one with our gigafactories. That's the entire business plan of HPQ, is to be able to completely feed into it. So at the base, the QRR, okay, is a modular production system that does the material that battery manufacturers need or other manufacturers. So we can right size ourselves everywhere on the value. So it's something we've been always working. We've always been telling. It's just the first time we present it in a more concrete fashion.
Have you got any, I know it's early because you did it on Tuesday, but any response from any of the parties you've been talking to past? You've had press releases about, global auto manufacturer, you have the NDAs. Is it too early? Have you had any response from
Actually, I've already got one reply from somebody who says, oh, you remember we signed an NDA. Can we discuss about getting material? And this is what's different about what we're doing. Like in the press release, we already got 15 kilograms. Doesn't sound a lot, but according to, with the plan that we're following with Novation, okay, our goal by the end of Q2 is to have close to 1 ton of material.
Okay, that comes as new news to everybody too.
Well, it's new news. It's part of it. If I'm going to do 200, it's part of those forward. What seemed very complicated, but we actually wrote in the press release. C stock for production line. There you go. How we're going to do it. We're resolving every one of those issues as we're moving forward. We're walking and chewing gum at the same time.
By the way, devil's advocate, it looks like you put in a couple of big ifs in there. I'm going to read part of the quote. To have a test production line operational 2024, we'll need to deploy commercially available technologies for CTBV. I won't get into all that, but you got 4 of those. You'll need to source a minimum of 150 tons per year of 3N plus silicon feedstock, improve the silicon material battery capabilities, and right sizing the modular capacity of the production line. Those sound like 4 pretty, I don't want to say daunting, but those sound like 4 decent hills to climb. So how confident are you that you can get all 4 of those done?
Let's say that in my stable of people I work for, I have people that have already done it. But I won't expand more on that. But it's not as daunting as it looks.
All right, so these are required but it doesn't sound like you're overly worried about them. I mean, you still got to get them.
I've never been worried about, the purification and getting the material. I've never been worried about this. I've never been. It's because we live in this bit of a binary world. Okay, there's some people that are doubting Thomas, but we have contingency plan A, B, and C. Basically, we can make the 3N in one step, but we can't make the 3N in one step. I absolutely have no reason to believe we won't be able to make the 3N in one step, but between the time where we can make the 3N in one step and now we also have contingency plan that our ongoing testing is being done, things are being done. I've learned something over the years now, is I prefer to talk about what I have done as opposed to what I am doing. So that's more sort of my philosophy now.
It says to have a test production line operational in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
First quarter, first half. I know you like.
Oh, that part I'm not getting into.
But I'm still going to ask.
Yeah, I know you're going to ask. Listen, it's going to be
2024.
any day between January 1st and December 31st. In
How
the
about this?
meantime,
When will you have a better idea of that? Like by June, will
as
you
I
have a
told
better
you,
idea?
I'll have a better idea once we have done it. But it's not that stressful because the equipment we're talking about is all commercially available. Okay. And now the reason, and I know that some people are thinking they have, well, frick, if it's all commercially available, anybody can copy you. Yes, anybody can copy us. I don't disagree. But nobody can copy the QRR.
Well, what equipment are you talking about then?
I'm talking about the grinding equipment. An equipment to purify silicon. That's an equipment to encode the material. Those are, some of them we're developing, some of them exist. So some technology exists to do SIOX. We're playing around the multiple field, but we have enough options to be able to meet every one of those issues.
Right. Anything
But I will not get tied down on saying, it's going to be at 3:00 on a Thursday afternoon when the woman.
Come on, that's not what I'm asking you. That's all.
Oh, I'm not talking about George. I'm not talking about you.
First half of the year, second half of the year, at least at some point, it'd be great to have an indication of that. But either way, I think everyone's happy with.
There'll be an indication at the right time.
All right. So between now, okay, so that's all I can ask you on that. What are there any nuances I've missed here about this press release that I should have asked you, or any final comments from you about this?
Oh, this is big because there's all the other material that we can do with this material. This fits well into the QRR. You could ask the interesting question: how come you're talking about 200 ton of SI and 300 ton of SIOX? You could have picked up on that one.
Well, I've got it here, but I don't know. I thought it sounded to me that was going to be like a game time decision for you. I'm not, but okay. Why?
No, it's
200 tons of sub 5 micron size silicon powder versus 300 tons per year of sub 5 micron silicon oxide powders. I don't know what
it's not. It's SIOX. It's not. It's an oxide powder, but the X is a different factor. So
okay,
no,
why is that a game time decision, or why'd you talk about?
No, it's not a game time decision. It is right now the literature that technically what is commercially used is more SIOX as opposed to SI. Now, what we're still trying to gauge is the X factor done by the anode manufacturer, or is the X factor done by the battery manufacturer? And I think what's going to happen also in parallel, so if you go take a look at the other one, we're going to be working on improving the material, okay, is we're going to be starting to playing with some parameters. So what we're doing is we now know what are the correct characteristic of the SI in battery anode material. And then we're going to see, okay, how can we improve this? How we can get good results. So we're working with different, high level research centers to get them tested, get them moving. The issue that's always something I wanted to do, but we're always having some difficulties getting ourselves the samples material. Now that's no longer the case.
All right. That's all the questions I've got, man. It's a Friday afternoon.
Okay.
But I'm glad that we hopped on here, and I'm glad you're able to tell everybody the reason we couldn't do this sooner. I was flying back from Dubai on Tuesday, but more importantly, you were actually in some great meetings in New York. So when I read this, when I got off the plane, it was a great surprise to me, and I think it's probably been a great surprise to a lot of shareholders. So can't wait until the next time we talk about this, where you can give us even more information, my friend.
All right, sure. I'll be
If
coming
anybody at
soon.
home, you've been watching or you've been listening by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, your favorite podcast platform. To Bernard Tourillon, CEO of HPQ Silicon, trades in Canada, HPQ, for our friends in the US, HPQFF. For those new to the story and you love seeing this announcement about early stage planning for actual silicon-based battery material production, and that, okay, there's a walker, not just a talker. Start your due diligence on Agoracom, take a look at Compass profile page, then hop over to the HPQ Silicon website and take a look at the deck. It's a brand new deck there, PowerPoint presentation to bring yourself fully up to speed. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. We've already lost Bernard. See you next time. Hey guys, this video is over, but don't forget to help your company by liking it and even leaving a comment below. And then don't forget to help yourself by subscribing to our channel and never missing another great Agoracom small cap video.